No. Okay? No. I'm filming this on November 4th, okay? It's not even Halloween anymore. It doesn't make sense to dress up when it's not even Halloween. So no, I'm not doing it, okay? Not dressing up, not putting in any costumes. I'm certainly not going to draw my face to look like a rapper I'm a big fan of, okay? It's just not going to happen, so let's just carry on and film the video as normal. Yeah, I drew a fucking Playboy Cardi birthmark on my cheek. Oh my god, I'm such a fucking loser. Dude, it straight up looks like Sully from Monsters, Inc. just nutted on my face. Hey guys, happy Halloween. Or happy very belated Halloween. Considering, like I said, I'm filming this on the 4th of November, which means it'll be up in a few days. So I'm already going to be like a week and a half late for Halloween. I was slacking big time. I was slacking on editing that Siblings Are Dating video. So I fast-tracked that one, and then I had to watch the movies for this video as well. So it ended up taking a while. But here we are. We are now talking about my top 5 favorite horror movies of all time, with honorable mentions. At number 5, we have A Nightmare on Elm Street, slasher movie about everyone's favorite child molester, Freddy Krueger. Now, I mean, what can really be said about Robert Englund's performance as Freddy? I mean, it's one of the greats. It's one of the all-time greats as far as character acting, and I mean, obviously, horror villains in general. A lot of people have Freddy Krueger as their favorite movie villain of all time. For me, he's not one of my all-time favorite. Well, no, I mean, I do love Freddy. He's awesome, minus the child molesting thing. I mean, what can you say about this first one? This movie is just a banger and a half. I mean, it's got Nancy Thompson, one of my all-time favorite horror movie protagonists / final girls. I mean, she's a goat. Absolute goat. Love Nancy Thompson. Hate her mom, though. Her mom fucking sucks. When Nancy's friend gets killed by Freddy at the beginning, and her friend is framed for it. By the way, for these movies, I'm not going to go into like super crazy in-depth spoilers. Like, I'm not going to spoil the endings of these movies, but I will be talking about like some of the early on kills, you know, basic things people know about the movie. So if you haven't seen any of these movies, that's fine. If I end up getting into a section, because like later on when I talk about my number 2 pick, I might want to get into a spot where I want to be into spoiler territory. I highly recommend skipping past that. I'll give a time code and everything when it happens, just so y'all know. Overall, though, aside from that, I am going to be, like, light on spoilers. Like, just, like, stuff that is generally known, or stuff that happens early on, kind of stuff. When Nancy's friend gets killed at the beginning by Freddy, and her friend who was in the room with her at the time gets framed for it, Nancy is, like, adamant that it wasn't him, because it wasn't, and it doesn't make any sense that it'd be him. Her fucking cunt-ass mother is just like, well, maybe you don't take murder seriously. Dude, her best friend just got slaughtered. Relax. Oh man, do you guys remember that one scene when in the bathtub when Freddy Krueger tries to give Nancy the reverse ice spice? That was a crazy fucking scene. And then we have that scene where Freddy fucking Epstein's the guy in jail. That was pretty crazy. There is also the scene where Nancy gets put under a sleep study, and it just reminded me how fucking much I hate sleep studies. I've had to do one once where they monitored my brainwaves while I was asleep, and it sucks because they have so many shit. They have so much shit taped to you, all these wires and shit, and you can't like. When I sleep, I toss and turn a lot. That's just how I am. That's how I sleep. But you can't toss and turn when you're doing that because it disrupts all the wires. When they wake you up, you gotta stop moving, sweetie. I'm fucking asleep. Anyways, we also get young Johnny Depp in this. He's great in this. You know, this was Was this pre-Edward Scissorhands? I don't think it was. And, I mean, there's the infamous scene, too, where Johnny Depp turns into a fucking geyser of blood. I mean, I used that in my, Grindhouse Music Volume 1 EP visualizers, which, by the way, if you haven't heard, listen to it. Freddy in this movie is a fucking demon. Like, this was before Freddy became the wisecracking, bitch-saying, corny fuck that he becomes later on. This is when Freddy was, like, an actual fucking demon. Freddy's idea of humor in this first movie is cutting off his own fingers to let green blood squirt out and scare the shit out of Nancy's friend. That's his idea of humor. His idea of humor is to call Nancy on the phone and then give him a little with a tongue, with the phone tongue. That's Freddy's idea of humor. That's the funniest it gets. And like, don't get me wrong, Funny Freddy's fun. I like Freddy. I fucking love Funny Freddy. But there's something about Terrifying Freddy that's just way better to me. There's just, oh man, Freddy when he's played seriously and like can like mock you as he's doing it in like an actually terrifying way and not like in some what was the movie with the what's the one with now you're playing with power and he's got like the fucking power glove and shit. But yeah, this movie is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. If you haven't seen A Nightmare on Elm Street, go give it a watch. It's the best one in the series. Coming in at number 4, we have Saw. I really like the Saw series. Even though most of them are bad, it's still a very interesting series to me. And the first movie is a legitimate masterpiece. This movie is fucking incredible. They had such a small budget. Almost the entire movie takes place in one fucking room. You know, there's some other scenes where we have, like, the detectives doing other shit, trying to track down Jigsaw and all that, but for the most part, the core story is 2 guys in a room yelling at each other, and it is so fucking tense. And I mean, another thing is that the editing in this movie is just fucking hilarious. It's just so much. Like, it's, like, the car scenes, like the way it's edited, so the fucking ending when it just like the free with the frames and shit. It's like whoever edited this movie was on fucking meth. Jigsaw is one of the most interesting slasher villains, but also one of the most hateable for me. He's so self-righteous and he thinks that he's doing the right thing. And there's a lot of horror fans, a lot of Saw fans who seem to subscribe to this stupid idea that, well, technically Jigsaw never killed anyone, it's the traps that kill him. Who built the fucking traps? And don't try and turn this into some like this isn't like a like, oh, is the person who built the gun responsible for who it kills? No, but the guy who shoots the gun is. And Jigsaw is both of those people. So I do not, I want to fucking shove Jigsaw in a locker. He's such a fucking nerd, dude. Just another random side fact about this movie. Technically, it is supposed to take place in like October of 2004, given what the rest of the timeline suggests. But there is a shot of a cell phone that has the date September 10th, 2001. So in a way, if you look at this film like just as a solo venture, and ignore the sequels, the first Saw movie takes place the day before 9/11. I mean, good God, though, that ending. I'm not going to talk about the ending. I'm not going to talk about what exactly happens at the end if you have not seen this movie. If you have not seen this movie and you don't know what happens at the end, go watch the movie. Like, right now. Pause the video. No, actually, finish the video. Finish the video. But then go watch the fucking movie. I just realized I have blue ink on my hands. Was that there in the intro? But yeah, the ending is bonkers. It has one of the most insane reveals in movie history. Not just horror movie history. Just movie history in general. That ending, ooh, scared the fuck out of me when I was a kid. Caught me so off guard. Holy shit. Go watch Saw if you haven't already. Banger movie. The first 3 movies are honestly really, really great. After that, it's up to you if you want to continue watching them. They're worth watching, I think, but the first 3 are the best, definitely. Coming in at number 3, The Evil Dead. No, I love all the Evil Dead movies. Actually, I haven't seen Evil Dead Rise yet, somehow. I just haven't gotten around to it, but I'm going to soon. I'm gonna watch it, don't worry. But man, oh man, that first one. Woo! I mean, I think that the Evil Dead trilogy, and I also really, really, really love the reboot from 2013. It's a sequel. It's in the same universe. But I really like that movie, but the first 3 are like one of the greatest trilogies of all time. Just like point blank period. I will say it was kind of hard for me to pick between Evil Dead 1 and 2. I actually had Evil Dead 2 written on here, but then I just thought about it a little bit more and I was like, nah, it's the first one for me. For me. The second one might objectively be a better movie. It might be. The third one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I really like the first one. The second one is just as good. But I You could maybe argue the same thing for the third one. I don't know. But the first one is the one that impacted me the most, and is what it has influenced me the most. It's so impressive to me that basically just a small group of people can go out to to a cabin in the woods and film a movie for $5, and it ends up being like one of the most iconic horror movies of all time. It's incredible. I mean, shit. The cinematographer for most of this movie is just Sam Raimi holding a fucking 2x4 with a camera strapped to the end of it. That's metal as fuck. Just everything about this movie is so DIY. It feels so raw and so just... To this day, this movie brings chills down my spine and like makes me in so many ways. The gore in this movie is fucking phenomenal. Incredible fucking gore. The practical effects just in general are fucking perfect. For such a... maybe not perfect, but for such a low budget DIY ass movie, the practical effects are just top notch. They would just put their full fucking effort into this. Sam Raimi just threw his cock on the table and was just like, hey, we're making this fucking movie. I mean, Jesus Christ, this movie has a molesting tree scene. There's a scene where a tree rapes a person. I just realized that's probably not a very great thing to say to newcomers who haven't seen the movie. Watch the movie, though. But yeah, that does happen. That's not a crazy spoiler, I don't think. Because I think if you know anything about The Evil Dead, that's one of the things you know about The Evil Dead. Is that there is a scene where Groot has his way with a woman. I mean, good God. And by the end of the movie, when everyone's just... again, I'm not going to go into details. But like when everyone's just screaming and shit, and it is just like... Ash is just like wanting to tear his fucking hair out. It's a fucking madhouse by the end of this fucking movie. And I mean, Bruce Campbell? What can I say? Bruce Campbell is in my top 2 actors of all time. Yeah. Maybe top 1. Not gonna lie. Him and Pam Grier are my 2 favorite actors of all time. I mean, he's just a goat. Not only just in terms of how good of an actor he is, but also how charming he is. How effortlessly charming he is. From this first movie on, you're like, yeah, I like this Ash dude. I hope he makes it out okay. And then he ends up becoming one of the greatest icons in horror history. Who would have guessed? Bruce Campbell, too, is like... he is a slapstick legend in these movies, man. He's like right up there with Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, The Three Stooges, Jim Carrey. It's like, he is an absolute fucking legend. I love Bruce Campbell. And I mean, the series as a whole is interesting. I love all the movies, like I said. Again, I haven't seen Evil Dead Rise yet. But it's just like, it's interesting the way these movies progressed. You have the first one, which is like mostly serious. Like there's a little bit of dark comedy in it, but for the most part, it's a pretty serious movie. The second one's pretty funny. Like it goes kind of half and half. By the third movie, it's just like, fuck it. But yeah, this first Evil Dead movie really did a number on me the first time I saw it. It still sticks with me to this day. Coming in at number 2, we have Scream. Oh man, oh man, oh man. What is there to say about fucking Scream? Just one of the greatest openings in movie history. That opening scene, I can quote it word for word, line for line, bar for bar. It's just incredible. I love all the characters in this movie. I love all of them. They're not just boring-ass teenagers that I want to see die. I want to see most of these characters make it. There's even some characters that die in this movie that I'm actually sad are dead. And that's rare for a slasher. Usually with a slasher, it's like, yeah, give me the kills, give me the kills, give me the kills. In this movie, I'm just like, no, why? I like them. I liked her. It does not hold back on killing very likable characters. I'll say that. As far as characters go, Sydney, my favorite final girl. I'll say it right now. My favorite final girl in slasher movie history. Love her. I love Tatum. Not just because I had a huge crush on her when I was a kid. It's not the reason. I love Dewey. He's like one of the only good cops. And he got rizzed, bro. He rizzed up Courtney Cox. Fuck. Speaking of Courtney Cox, I love Gail Bedecker. Love her. I love her cameraman, Kenny. Man, I love all the teenagers in this movie. They're all so fun, so full of life, and so much character to them. They're so much fun to watch, and like just watching it, there are some deaths where I legitimately feel sad. These are some of my favorite fictional characters ever. I'm just kind of realizing that. I love Billy. I love Stu. I love Ron. Henry Winkler is in this fucking movie. Gene Cousineau, the Fonz. Hey, he's in this movie. He's the principal. And he is unhinged. He's so weird. This movie has fake outs on fake outs on fake outs on fake outs. Like, you see a character that you think he's the killer. He's definitely the killer, right? And then something happens and it makes you think, maybe he's not the killer. And then you think again, maybe he is the fucking killer. I don't know. Who's to say? By the way, can I just say, okay, let's get into spoilers. Just for a minute. I'll put if you have not seen Scream, skip to here in the video. Please. The killers in this movie are Billy and Stu. It's two killers, they work together. If you've seen the movie, we all know that. You know, and if you haven't seen it, why are you watching this part of the fucking video? But there is a very common theory that Dewey was a secret killer the whole time. And the biggest piece of evidence I see people using to get this theory across, this stupid fucking theory, is that there's many moments in the movie where Dewey will pop up at a moment that seems suspicious. It's like, ooh, maybe there's like a music cue that's like, why is he over here? And it's called mis-fucking-direction. He was never the killer. He was never supposed to be the killer. I don't understand why this is a popular fucking thing in the horror genre, okay? Dewey was not one of the fucking killers. But yeah, Scream, my second favorite horror movie of all time. Just goated. So fucking goated. Before I get into number one, let's go through my honorable mentions. The original Frankenstein. Out of all the Universal monsters that I wanted to pick out, because I do love those movies, out of all of those, the one that I wanted to pick out was Frankenstein, because it is the most nostalgic for me. It's the first one that I ever watched. I have it on VHS. I have Dracula on VHS too. That's probably my second favorite. But out of all of them, I think Frankenstein is probably the best. Maybe Bride of Frankenstein. That movie is goated too. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. What really can be said about this movie? It's unsettling. It's creepy. Anthony Perkins, one of the greatest actors to ever do it. Love him. Incredible as Norman Bates. Incredible movie. Again, if you have not seen this movie somehow, go watch it. Don't look up anything about it either, because if you don't know anything about it, the ending is gonna throw you for a fucking loop. I mean, Jesus Christ. The ending of this movie was so fucking insane that for audiences in 1960 at the time, they had to add a scene at the very end where a psychologist breaks down what happened. Like what you just saw. That's what they had to put that into the movie for people that weren't used to seeing shit like this, which was most people at the time. But oh man, Psycho, incredible. I also want to shout out Suspiria, which is an Italian supernatural horror movie taking place at a dance school. A lot of murders happen, a lot of creepy shit happens. All I'm gonna say is, whew, the fucking maggot scene. Maniac. I gotta rewatch this movie, but it might end up being in my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time. It's in my top 10 Grindhouse movies. That's something I need to do. I need to do a list of like my favorite Grindhouse movies. That's what I gotta do. Yeah, Maniac is super influential to me. It's influenced the movie I'm making a lot. Spoiler alert for the ending of the video, I'm gonna do the little announcement. And just overall, it's just a classic story of a mentally ill loner going insane and just murdering a shit ton of women. Next, we got Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. This is my favorite Friday the 13th movie because it was the first one to really incorporate humor intentionally. I'm not really sure what they were doing with the fifth movie. That movie's hilarious, but I still don't know if it was intentional or not. The sixth movie, though, it's definitely intentional. And it was when they really were like, we need to really like hone in on the humor here and be self-aware with what we're doing. I'm a huge fan of the Friday the 13th series. One of my favorite horror franchises of all time. I like most of the movies. I love most of the movies, actually. But 6 is definitely my favorite. I have American Psycho on here as an honorable mention because I'm not sure it really counts as full horror. Like, it's definitely horror adjacent, but it's more, to me, it feels more akin to like a Taxi Driver or a Donnie Darko, you know, something like that, as opposed to like a Maniac, which is a character study similar to that, but it's more overtly horror. Whereas, like, I feel like American Psycho is more of like a psychological character study with horror elements more than it is like a full-on horror. But if I were to have counted this as a full-on horror, it would probably overtake Nightmare for being in my top 5. I adore this movie. Next up, we got the whole Firefly trilogy from Rob Zombie, that being House of a Thousand Corpses, The Devil's Rejects, and 3 from Hell. I think all 3 of these movies are bangers. My favorite is House of a Thousand Corpses, but I wanted to shout out the whole trilogy because they're all just so fire. Speaking of Rob Zombie, I also want to shout out Rob Zombie's Halloween, which is my favorite Halloween movie, my favorite Michael Myers movie. I know that's a massive hot take, but I've just always preferred it to the original. The original isn't even like in my top 3 favorite Halloween movies, honestly. And that makes it sound like I'm a big Halloween fan, just don't like the original. I hate the Halloween series, man. I like maybe 5 movies, maybe, out of the entire series, and then the ones that I don't like are like some of my least favorite horror movies I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, the first Rob Zombie Halloween movie is like my favorite. It's so fire. The way that they really go into the origin of Michael as a kid, I just found it really interesting. And it's so gory and so violent and so Rob Zombie. It's so, I love this movie. You got Cabin in the Woods. This was very close to making my top 5. I mean, this is, talk about a movie I can't talk about. I mean, if you've seen this movie, you know, like how big this is, like just how important this movie is to horror. And if you haven't seen it, once again, go watch it. But like, I would maybe, if you're not really a huge horror fan, and like these recommendations I'm giving you are like your first forays, and watch some like, get into the basics of horror before you watch Cabin in the Woods. I think it'll be more rewarding for you that way. But Cabin in the Woods is just brilliant. Love this movie. And for my last honorable mention, I wanted to shout out Terrifier, the first movie with Art the Clown. Just so brutal, so gory, I love Art the Clown. He's such a fucking menace. He's such a demon. He's so pure and evil. I need to see the second one, man. I really do. And apparently the third movie is going to be like a Christmas horror film. Holy shit, I need that! I'm not gonna lie, when I rewatched Scream, I was like, shit, maybe Scream has overtaken it again. Maybe Scream is back to being my favorite horror movie of all time. And then I rewatched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I can confirm that, no, my favorite horror movie is still the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, God, what a creepy fucking movie. What a unsettling, quiet, raw, brutal, sad, incredible movie. Man, oh man, oh man. The opening sends chills down my spine to this day, with just the shot of the corpse posted up, and then it moves into the opening credits as the news continues to report on things that are completely unrelated to the story but are equally like disturbing and like really set you on edge. And just the sound design in this movie. Oh my god, dude. Oh, speaking of quiet, the first kill in this movie, I don't think I've seen this movie maybe 1,000 times. Every single time I see the first kill, I get chills all over my body, and I like, because it's just so quiet. It's the scene where actually, I'm gonna cut all that out. I'm gonna bleep all that out because I think you should watch the movie. And also, some of my friends are gonna watch this movie, and I want to show this movie to my friends. Leatherface is one of my favorite horror characters of all time because he's such a tragic character. Because really, none of what he's doing is entirely his fault. He only kills when he himself is scared, and he's scared easily. Because Leatherface, I don't know if it's ever been officially confirmed what disorders Leatherface has, but he's mentally deficient in a lot of ways. He has some issues. And his family just uses him as a killing machine. They abuse him and they force him to kill. He has multiple personalities too, which explains why he has multiple masks. His masks are made of human skin, and each one of his masks represents a different personality. He doesn't want to kill. Like I said, he only does it out of instinct when he's terrified or when his family is forcing him to. And it's just so sad, man. This whole movie has such an incredible feeling of impending dread. Just from the second the movie starts, you know that, like, oh man, this is not gonna end well. I'm drinking blood. If you don't know this about the movie, you might find this very interesting. The movie is actually, depending on how you view it and depending on how you frame it, it is kind of vegan propaganda. The idea of this movie was to make humans see and feel the way that animals are treated in factory farms, to show just how brutal the meat industry is. And I find that so fascinating that this movie has such a strong moral standpoint to it. And it just really drives that shit home. Like, there's times where I watch this movie and I'll be like, damn, maybe that burger wasn't worth it. But nah, it definitely was, though. Shit's delicious. And I mean, the ending, God, one of the most insane, like, get your blood pumping endings I've ever seen. Like, it is just, it's the perfect ending. Just go fucking watch the movie, man. If you haven't seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre, what are you doing? What are you doing? Go watch this movie, please. And if you're one of my friends, please let me show it to you. Hey, the only thing I'm gonna say, as an inside joke between people who've seen the movie, I mean, hey, we all know Grandpa does it best, right? We all know Grandpa does it best, right? Ah! But yeah, that's the list. Those are my top 5 horror movies of all time. If this video came across like I was a little loopy or out of it, it's because I am for some reason. I'm not high or anything. For once. I'm not high, I'm not drunk, I'm just like delirious today for some reason. But I have to film this. I had to film this. And I feel like now I should probably do the announcement that I said I was going to do in my initial comeback video and just haven't done yet. Once again, if you follow my Instagram, you know what it is. You know what I'm about to say. So I know most of you aren't going to be surprised by this, but I gotta say this. I'm happy, so fucking happy to say I am currently in the process of making a movie. We are in pre-production. The script is written. We got a crew ready. Casting is about halfway done. We need a few more characters, but like the major characters have already been casted. I've been meeting with the crew regularly, and we are really doing this thing. The movie is called Dust Bunny, which is about a mentally ill loner, played by me as well, who just has a very strong mental decline as the movie goes on, until eventually he reaches a point beyond no return. That's all I can say right now. Basically, think, for the story and like the vibe we're going for, kind of think like Taxi Driver meets American Psycho meets Donnie Darko. That's kind of the vibe we're going with here. It's a character study, but it's also kind of a grindhouse movie in style. It's gonna have like a very grainy feel to it, like an old 70s horror movie, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you know, etc. Maniac. So if you're into like really grimy, gritty horror shit, and if you're into character studies and shit, this is the movie for you. And it'll be coming out sometime next year, probably. It'll probably be later next year. But we're closer to filming than not closer to filming. I don't know. We still need to cast a few more people, like I said, but the core people have been cast. And that's all I gotta say right now. I might make a whole video like breaking down this whole thing in detail, and I will be vlogging the creation of this movie on my YouTube channel as I continue to make it. But as far as just like basic stuff that I want to let you guys know right now, that's all I got. So you just stay tuned. That's all I'm gonna say. Stay tuned. I'm gonna keep y'all updated. This movie is happening. Like, I don't want you guys to think that this is some pipe dream. Like, oh, I think I'm gonna make a movie, but it won't happen. No, it is happening. We got a crew. It's down pat. We got equipment. It's happening. It is locked in. We are making this fucking movie. thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, please give it a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, maybe do that. You don't have to, but hey, it makes me look cool, and I feel cool. It helps the channel out a lot, so I mean, hey, maybe drop a follow. Maybe drop a follow. And I mean, shit, while you're at it, maybe you should listen to some of my music. Maybe give it a shot. Maybe give it a shot. The new EP's fire. That's all I'm gonna say. The new EP's fire. The singles I've been dropping are fire. Phasers, the album is fire. By the way, this is the album cover for me and OK Fiji Perp's album. Phasers. It won't fucking stick back on. Finally, as I said, thanks for watching. I appreciate all of you.